our Q&A. Joy is the Marketer of the Year, and she is the president of Lincoln Motor Company and Chief Marketing Officer of Ford. And we were supposed to do this Q&A at the New York Auto Show, so I'm kind of bummed that we're not there in person, sitting next to each other, but we'll just have to make do with technology, as it were. So just need Joy to unmute yourself and to start your video.
Tanya, she's on.
Joy, are you there?
Hi, Tanya. I'm here.
There you are. Fabulous. Great. Good to see you. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Joy has helped transform Ford Motor Company's Lincoln Luxury division into a brand worthy of going head-to-head with the likes of BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Jaguar Land Rover, and others. Clearly, consumers are responding to the repositioning. Lincoln sales are up a notable 8.3% in 2019, while sales at most other luxury brands were level with 2018 or actually declined. And it is for those reasons and more that we selected Joy as MediaPost's Automotive Marketer of the Year for 2019. Let's take a look at one of those 2019 spots that had us riveted. Great. I love that ad. I can't get enough of Matthew McConaughey. I have to be honest. I love every single one of his ads. So Joy, we were supposed to be having this conversation at the New York Auto Show. Doesn't April seem like it was a million years ago?
It seems like ages ago. And really, let me thank you and MediaPost and the jurors for really giving us this great honor, and good to be here finally, virtually.
Virtually is the new reality. So the award actually recognizes Ford and Lincoln's work from 2019. So I'm hoping you can try to remember back to some of the highlights before the world got turned upside down. So can you talk a little bit about 2019 and what the work was like for you guys back then?
Yeah, you know, although it does seem like ages ago, it was an important time for Lincoln as we were launching the all-new Aviator. And when you're launching a new vehicle in an industry like auto that is so competitive, you really have to be thoughtful and know who you are as a brand. And for Lincoln, it's also really about knowing our clients, because they're at the heart of our brand transformation. And we really started to hit our stride in 2019 because we were launching some work that we'd done. We were really creating a brand thread that we call Power of Sanctuary, that all of our ads come across in, to really bring together the unique product DNA that we have of delivering that great interior space that we call sanctuary, with our experiences that are, you know, warm and human, and really accentuate the personally crafted nature of the vehicle. And that's what we did with the Power of Sanctuary in the Aviator launch and the ads that you're referring to. And it really presented that really good opportunity. And of course, we used Matthew again. And Matthew's been on the journey with us for so long. You know, he really understands the DNA and the tonality of the brand and really what we're trying to deliver there. And the good news, and you kind of mentioned it up front, is we saw results with that. And on Aviator alone, all new vehicle to the segment delivered a 10% share, you know, just under 1 year. So we're happy with the results along with the marketing. It's great when those two come together.
Well, one of our award jurors, when we were talking about the Marketer of the Year and giving the award to you, he noted that Lincoln has created an engaging, emotionally appealing marketing program that brings to life the American luxury positioning. What is unique to Lincoln's ability to achieve this in both brand and retail work, which is a rarity in automotive category? How do you do that?
Well, it's really about, again, knowing who we are, right? Because there are other American luxury brands, and certainly we're competing with German luxury brands. And so we've got to be unique. We have to have our own voice, our own tone, and our own DNA. And again, I think the magic happens when we bring that product DNA of what we call quiet flight, and we're leaning into the beauty picture of the design, and the sanctuary to create that place of respite for our clients after a busy day. And it's interesting because when we did all this last year, it was about the hustle and bustle of travel and the work day and getting into the vehicle and being able just to have that sense of sanctuary. And you saw Matthew, you know, in our warm escape ad, actually, you know, in a cold environment and getting into that vehicle as a sense of sanctuary. Today, what I'm hearing is people are escaping their homes and getting in their cars and listening to the radio, going for a ride by themselves. And it's a different type of sanctuary with COVID, but nonetheless, it's the same idea of really leaning into the product DNA and the effortless service experiences and what we're trying to create and making it uniquely Lincoln, and just versus trying to copy someone else. And that's where I think we become our best.
So let's talk a little bit about Lincoln's continued transformation and journey, and how you've had to pivot your marketing in response to COVID-19.
Wow, so this, it all happened really in March, right? When I think we came home from work, and it was like the following weekend, we were sheltered in place here in Michigan, and obviously everything was going on in New York before that, in a very serious situation. And we were really coming into the spring selling season. And for Lincoln, the first thing that we did is we had to look at, you know, what we were doing on air, right? What our plan was. And we were launching our new SUV, the Corsair. So we're getting ready to shout to everybody, look at our new vehicle, you know, come buy our new vehicle. And we would have just been tone deaf if we continued to do that. So we pulled those ads before they even actually launched. And we shifted and we leaned into using an existing pickup and delivery ad. So it's really great that we already had that effortless service for our clients, and turned it into helping people that needed service. And we could come do that by picking up their vehicle at their house, and they could stay in the house and have a contactless experience. And then also leveraging it for remote sales. And we were fortunate there as well, because we had been partnering with our dealers the year before to create a remote sales experience with a tech partner, AutoFi. And we were piloting it in February and March, and we just flipped it immediately to a complete rollout. So we would be prepared for those essential workers and those folks that still needed transportation. But what we went on we changed our ads was to a reassurance message. And the first thing we did was we think about our clients that all of a sudden have all this COVID, are sent home, and then we had that unemployment, you know, that spiked immediately, double digits, you know, week after week, higher than we'd ever seen. So offering a payment deferral option was the first thing that we did, and reassured our customers, hey, we're here, we'll work through this. We have this tool in the toolbox with our finance company that's always there for us, and we can help you defer payments. And then as time went on, and people still needed, you know, transportation, so we had the pickup and delivery to do remote service, and we were doing remote sales. We had the messaging around being able to defer payments for new purchases, if you will, and that made a difference as well.
So Ford Motor Company was one of the first, if not the first, to air the pandemic-themed ads. And it was so striking because it was somber, but reassuring at the same time, and just really captured the whole tonality of the country at that moment. And it was just such a great piece of work so quickly. I mean, how did you guys do that? And what were the discussions that went into making that very first pandemic ad?
Yeah, so a big kudos to the Ford marketing team. To your point, the speed was incredible there. So we were getting ready to go into March Madness, right? So we had all the spots purchased. Immediately, same situation as Lincoln, you know, pull those ads and really lean into existing footage. You know, there was no production for a long period of time, right? So we had our agency pull together some existing footage, and we built off of the Built Ford Proud platform with the Built to Lend a Hand. And once again, leveraging our finance company that has that great tool in the toolbox to defer payments. The first thing that we came out with Built to Lend a Hand with payment deferrals for existing customers who were finding themselves unemployed at home very, very quickly. And we did find out that a lot of people actually came and got that extension that weren't even unemployed, but the uncertainty of what was going on in the world and who was going to work and when they were going to work and how they were going to pay bills and it was just enormous, the anxiety of our customer base. So again, to have that reassurance messages. Once we, got into our new normal a little bit and understood what was going on and how we were going to operate, and people started still needing transportation, especially for those essential workers, and also realizing the country was in different places. And this really came to light when we engaged our dealer bodies. We had the East Coast and Upper Midwest completely shut down. We were still selling cars on the West Coast and, in Vegas and in areas like that. And it was just complete different spaces for where people were in the country. And we needed to have solutions for retail there. So that's where, the defer 3 payments and pay 3 payments with incentives, gave clients that needed a new vehicle the opportunity to defer 6 months. And that was all built around Built to Lend a Hand. I think part of the magic was was the speed, was the fact that we could build on the Built for Forward Proud platform that soon also became a part of Built for America because of what we were doing for America, was the fact that equally as quickly we had engineers and what we call the first 500 union workers working together to build PPE, building masks, building ventilators. What can we do to help? Really wanting to help the country, knowing the plants were down, but knowing they had skills and we had infrastructure, and how could we go to work to help? And that was part of, I believe, the magic of that as well.
You mentioned about how different parts of the country were in such different places, in terms of the pandemic and how they were responding and what was open and what was closed. And obviously your dealers are affected by that. So how has the pandemic changed how you work with your dealers? And do you think those changes are going to be ongoing?
I really do think we're just going to see some permanent changes, certainly, out of all this. The first thing with the dealers that we did is we went to, first of all, a weekly cadence of calls. And 1 week, one day it was the council, and then a couple days later it was the full dealer body. And that's something that, we don't do regularly. We talk to the council maybe on a quarterly basis. Of course, we talk to our dealer partners all the time, but, formal meetings is more like a quarterly, production, if you will. And we were doing that once a week, and then full dealer body on the phone once a week. And we were talking about how we're going to navigate through this crisis together. And, the first order of business was getting equipment to them. So they were protecting their employees and could still service first responders, essential workers. As you know, Ford has a huge presence in the first responders and in work in America. And keeping, those trucks traveling with food across the country was very important. So we had to make sure that they had the right protocols and they had the right safety to keep their employees safe, as long as the customers that we were serving safe. So getting that all wired up, getting that shipped, getting it, all those protocols that we were, building for the plants into the dealerships was an ongoing basis. And then really beginning to talk about retail and after the reassurance messaging, how do we return to market? And then how do we have a full recovery, and just planning that all together. And I think it's that virtual, like we're doing today, communication that kind of exceeded all of our expectations. We found that we were way more productive than we expected that we would be virtually. And it's, the necessity of it, I think, really created that. And I think some of that's going to be with us to stay. And if you think of the work we did with the agencies, creating ads with no footage and old footage and putting things together and being locked out of production really till late May, early June, really forced us to have a different working relationship with our agencies as well. And, you heard Kim talk about, some of the things that you need to do. One thing I was really proud of the team, this was on the Lincoln side, as far as bringing the test drive home, which was important, and getting our dealers on board with all that. We had a brick and mortar facility called the Lincoln Experience Center that, once it was shut down, it becomes just an idle asset. And they quickly turned it into a virtual showroom, so we could put it on the website and do virtual walkarounds for clients, if you will. So you get those real great ideas when people kind of have their backs against the wall and want to make a difference.
Well, thankfully things did shift. Production started back up again, and you did start shifting a little bit back to the vehicle focused advertising instead of just the pandemic advertising. And actually Ford gave everyone some well-needed joy this year by unveiling the very long-awaited and highly anticipated Bronco. Why do customers love that brand so much? And how is Ford using that excitement to generate excitement for all of its brands and to benefit brands across the board?
I think the love of Bronco, it really comes from the heritage, because it has been out of market for 25 years. And it was those, really steadfast stands that kept fans out there that kept finding old Broncos, refurbishing, creating, virtual discussions around it, having informal clubs, and really keeping that vehicle alive. So we had the fans, and then we had what we called an employee group that's called the Bronco Underground, that kept serving up Bronco as a product program over and over and over. And finally, when we had the opportunity to have the plant space to do that, we looked at it really seriously. And we knew bringing it back, we had to do it right. It had to be authentic, and it had to really lean into the heritage of that original Bronco. And we knew that part of that we had to make sure it was absolutely capable and durable. We have a huge competitor in this space that is humbling and very formidable. So we had to have the goods, if you will, and we had to differentiate. So we decided to make every one of them a 4x4. The original Broncos were all 4x4s, the new Broncos all 4x4s. So that was a really important piece of that as well. And then one thing we learned when we were looking at the brand, because we're launching a family, right, and a sub-brand for Ford. We were doing the brand positioning, and we saw that 93% of Americans spend their time indoors. And there's this demand or yearning for the outdoors. And this was before COVID. So imagine that data came before COVID. And we saw what happened after COVID, which things that became popular again, getting outside, landscaping, puzzles, pets. I mean, just things that were different than before. So we think that that's only increased with the COVID situation. So what a great opportunity to have this positioning of built wild. And really for Ford to build a sub-brand and be related to the Ford brand, it absolutely had to have that relationship, of course, with Ford that was authentic. So it had to be built with the toughness of an F-150 and the spirit of the Mustang. And I think the PD team did just a fantastic job with, really making that great combination for us. And, we're really excited to welcome a new horse back to the stable with the Bronco.
Well, and the timing was actually great because we needed that, something that there's not a lot else happening news-wise that's positive and fun and upbeat. So I think the Bronco probably captured a lot of people's fancy. So I have one more question that I'd like to ask you, but I just wanted to remind the audience that if they have any questions, they can raise their hands, and Lisa Singer will go ahead and let them know when it's the appropriate time to ask it. But I just wanted to ask, what's next? Do you have any more exciting reveals planned, and anything planned for the LA Auto Show if it actually happens in November?
Well, Tanya, it's so interesting. It's almost scary to plan out that far, because we originally planned to launch Bronco at the New York Auto Show. But actually, we do have something exciting right around the corner for Lincoln. We've got some news coming tomorrow. And so we're really excited that Matthew's going to be working with us on that as well. And so there'll be another announcement tomorrow. So tune in to Lincoln's YouTube channel tomorrow at 11 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, and you'll hear about the news.
And read
I'm sorry?
And actually read MediaPost, because I'll actually have a story about it.
Excellent. There you go. That's awesome. And then, of course, we're not standing still. We are looking forward to introducing electrification into Lincoln's future, and that'll be, coming with another chapter at the end of this year. And we're really excited, of course, on the Ford side to bring these vehicles to market. We've got the Bronco launching later this year. We had the F-150 virtual reveal that's launching later this year. And, thank goodness we did the Mach-E reveal the way we did last year, pre-COVID, because that was a real good learning for us for what we ended up having to do this year. And Mach-E comes this fall. So we've got a lot of launches, and we're humbled by the work ahead to get those launches off for the end of the year.
Well, Joy, congratulations again for winning our Marketer of the Year award. I will get you a real award for your office, I promise. And I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me about what you have going on and what's coming up and how you've dealt with the pandemic. So let's see if we've got, Lisa, do you have any audience questions?
Yes, Joy. Well, first of all, Joy, congratulations on your award. And I do have a question from John Oros. John, you want to ask?
Sure. Hi. Congratulations again to you, Joy, and to Hudson Rouge for the earlier award, two in one MediaPost. So congratulations. I just wanted to ask a question a little bit about Lincoln Way, the Lincoln Way app, and the personalized buying experience. I'm also remembering that TV spot about like home delivery early on. I know that a lot of those efforts were probably underway before COVID was even a word in our vocabulary, but I'm just wondering if you see anything concrete about how those initiatives might evolve or accelerate given the shifts in consumer behavior since lockdowns and e-commerce and the like.
Yeah, thanks, John. We do think that there's going to be some permanent shifts. We did see during the really challenging days of COVID, the numbers go up, as you can imagine, exponentially. And when we had dealerships actually physically closed, the only way to buy a car was remotely. So certainly 100% of sales in some markets were delivered remotely and done online and things like that. When things started to open up a bit, we saw some shifting back, that behavior, which is probably a little bit on the consumer side and the dealer side as well. But we decided, we're going to take this forward and, establish objectives working with our dealer partners, because we know clients really prefer that remote experience. But the way we're looking at it with the Lincoln Way in Lincoln is it to be on your terms as a client. If you want to come into the store, you can come into the store. If you want to start the journey online and then choose to come in the store, we can do that. If you want to do a test drive at your home, we'll do that. We can take it to your work. So we're really trying to develop this single point of contact with Lincoln Way in the dealership that does it on the client's terms, online to offline, however they prefer. Because we do find that some clients, their time is very valuable and they don't want to sit online and fill out forms to some degree. They'd rather just sign it at their house if we could bring it to them. So for us, it's really important to make sure it's on the client's terms, but we absolutely do believe that there is a shift in behavior here to facilitate the purchase of the vehicle, spend less time in the dealership, and get in and out with the vehicle. And we think that that's around to stay for a while.
Thank you.
And I do think we are at the end of the road. We're definitely late on time, so unfortunately no more questions. But Joy, that was great. I really appreciate your conversation with Tanya.
Well, thank you. And on behalf of the Ford and Lincoln marketing teams, thank you for this award. I'd be happy to share it with them.